KUGN News Talk 590, along with Grant McHill. I'm Storm Kennedy. He is Ryan Stone with the Patrol Division of the Eugene Police Department. Good morning, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Well, Officer Stone, although yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, it was last weekend that was the big weekend for Eugene Police in terms of finding drunk drivers and trying to limit that. So what did you find over the weekend?
We found that we had a pretty big uptick in the number of impaired drivers, as we kind of expected there would be. It's become kind of a drinking holiday, St. Patrick's Day, and so we teamed up with the Springfield Police Department and also the Oregon State Police to put out a larger number of officers that were specifically dedicated to impaired driving enforcement, and we tried to crack down on the areas where we expected there'd be a higher instance of impaired driving around the bars and the heavy traveled areas out of the bar areas, both in Eugene and Springfield.
Now, you did a really intense patrol during the Super Bowl festivities, and so this is why you kind of stepped it up here this weekend as well and on into the Monday holiday. So how did that work out for you on Monday?
It's all been exactly as we anticipated. The number of drinkers and whatnot were increased, so we had a lot of traffic stops that were made in all those areas trying to identify the drivers. And not only that, but we also wanted to create a high-visibility deterrent to potential drunk drivers so they would see us out there making traffic stops as they were going to and from the bar. Maybe even while they were at the bar, they could see us doing our work. And we were hoping that that would kind of give them a bit of pause before they decided whether they should go drive home or take a cab or find another means. And I think it was largely pretty successful. The amount of traffic that was out on the roads was actually lower than I'd anticipated overall, but it still kept us pretty busy with the number of impaired drivers we encountered.
Obviously, Eugene is a college town, Officer Stone. Did you find the University of Oregon area to be maybe the most concentrated area for drunk drivers?
You know, over the weekend, we were also bolstered with our party patrol, so we had a number of officers that were in on overtime for that, and I found that we actually had a lot of success keeping a handle on that. It seemed like there was a lot of responsible decision-making going on from the West University crowd. Doesn't seem like we were having a lot of issues with impaired driving any more than we would on any other weekend. But I think that a lot of that has to do with the high visibility presence that we had down there.
Now, I keep going back to the Super Bowl weekend, but a very successful Super Bowl weekend in your patrols. 0 fatalities. How about the weekend prior to St. Patty's Day?
That's exactly our goal every time we go out any night, but especially on these saturation events, because we tend to find that the drinking holidays bring a rise in drunk driving and a correlating rise in crashes and fatality events. We were successful again in having no serious injury or fatal traffic crashes in Eugene or Springfield over this holiday weekend, and that's our best measure of success, even more than whether we got a certain number of drunk drivers off the road. Seeing that 0 next to the number of crashes is the gold star that we look for.
Do you find, especially during the holiday time, that drivers are understanding when you pull them over?
Yeah, actually they are. It's kind of remarkable when you talk to folks and maybe they weren't even thinking about the fact that it's a holiday weekend or that there's going to be extra impaired drivers out there. And when they commit some of the normal traffic violations and you go up and you talk to them about why it was significant more so that night, a lot of times they kind of respond to that and that they weren't aware that was going on. And a lot of times it helps them put it in their own mind that they need to be more careful and more defensive, even though they were already doing all the right things, but to watch out for the dangerous drivers around them.
We're speaking with Officer Ryan Stone with the Patrol Division of the Eugene Police Department. Officer Stone, I know we talk about this each and every time we chat with you, but how important is it to not even have one before you get behind the wheel?
I tell people that's always the very safest decision you can make. It could be that one drink isn't going to cause you to be impaired or isn't going to cause you to be a dangerous driver, but the safest play is always to go into driving a car completely sober, completely aware of what's going on around you, and also making sure that you're avoiding distractions like cell phones and even sometimes conversation that you're having with other people in the car if they're a little rowdy. And then also making sure that you've gotten enough sleep and enough rest. We don't take seriously enough, I think, sometimes just how important it is, the responsibility of the driver to operate a vehicle that weighs several thousand pounds and hurling it down the highway. So making sure that we can do everything we can to limit the dangers to that driver, it goes a long way towards improving everybody's safety.
St. Patty's Day's in the books, Officer Stone. What's next for the Patrol Division? Is there another a time of year which you're focused on?
I think the next big saturation event that we're looking at is probably going to be around Cinco de Mayo. It's another event where we start seeing a big uptick in the impaired drivers, and then we'll look forward from there as the summer months come up. And other than that, we're just going to continue to kind of plug away and continue to refine our strategies for working with the other agencies around us, trying to find the impaired drivers and keep them off the road through education or enforcement.
Speaking of education, this is one thing that we don't talk a lot about, but I came across it as I was driving down and around the downtown area. Driving around the bars, I mean, being aware of folks that are getting into their cars or maybe even walking impaired. Being a driver that hasn't been drinking, but noticing your surroundings, how important is that?
It's absolutely crucial, and a lot of times folks are distracted and don't notice that the drunk person has staggered out from between some cars or has entered the roadway where they don't belong, if they're on foot or on a bicycle, and being kind of alert, looking out for their safety when they're not doing it for themselves can be really important to making sure that everybody ends up getting home safely and having a good night.
He is Eugene Police Department Officer Ryan Stone. Officer Stone, as always, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
We are KUGN News Talk 590.